we will be investigating applications of solving quadratic equations through factoring and through the quadratic formula. So if I'm looking at the idea of area, I have a rectangular garden shed that has a floor area of 48 meters squared. I'm asked to find the dimensions of the shed if the length is 2 meters less than the width. What we're going to look to do is use our idea of systems of equations to set up two equations with two variables. My variables will say L equals length and W equals width. And I know I have an area equation. Area equals length times width, so 48 is my area, length times the width. And it says that the length is 2 meters less than the width, so length equals W minus 2. Here's my first and my second equation in two variables. We are now going to take our two equations and use substitution to solve. So we know that length times width equals 48 and length equals width minus 2. That will get substituted into our equation for length, giving us the new equation of W minus 2 times W equals 48. To solve this using our understanding of solving by factoring, we need to distribute W. Now we have W squared minus 2W equals 48. We have to set this equal to 0. So W squared minus 2W minus 48 equals 0. And now we can solve. If W minus 8 times W plus 6 equals 0, then we know that W equals 8 or W equals a negative 6. But let's think about our answers. Can a measurement be negative? Recall that the story problem was about the floor of a rectangular garden shed, and measurement cannot be negative. Therefore, W cannot equal a negative 6 in this real-world problem. So we would say that the width equals 8 meters. And recognizing if the width equals 8 meters, our length then is 8 minus 2 or 6 meters. I don't want you to think that all negative answers will be eliminated, so let's look at consecutive integers, where on 2 winter nights the temperature dropped below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The two temperatures were consecutive negative integers, and consecutive means in a row. The product, remember product means multiplication, of the degrees was 172. So what are the two temperatures? Well, we can say that S equals the smaller integer. And if S is the smaller integer, then one consecutive integer larger is S plus 1. We can think of two consecutive integers, 3 and 4. And again, if we said S equals 3, then we have to add one more to get to 4. This is where we came up with our two variables. So the product of the degrees was 172. So we have 172 equals S, one of the integers, times S plus 1, the other integer. Distributing S, I have 172 equals S squared plus S. I have to set that equal to 0 and factor. 0 equals S plus 17 or times S minus 16. That means that S, the smaller temperature, is a negative 17 or S equals 16. However, because we were looking at degrees below 0, we want S equal to a negative 17 as our answer. So if S, the smaller temperature, is negative 17, then negative 17 plus 1, or negative 16, is the other temperature. So the two temperatures are negative 17 degrees and negative 16 degrees. And if we multiply negative 17 times negative 16, as we said we were taking the product, we do indeed have 172 degrees. In this question, we have a garden measuring 12 meters by 16 meters. Here's our 12 meters and our 16 meters. We're installing a pedestrian pathway all around it, increasing the total area to 285 square meters. The pedestrian pathway will be uniform in length, and so we are adding X more meters on both sides of the rectangular garden. This means that our length of 16 meters, we are adding to that 2x. There's one and a second x. This gives us length equals 2x plus 16. And our width of 12 meters, when the pathway is added, we have an x and an x, or again, 2x being added to that. We can recall that area is length times width for a rectangle, and so our length of 2x plus 16 is being multiplied by our width of 2x plus 12, and I set that equal to our area of 285. In this step, I distributed those binomials, or FOILed, and then I subtracted 285 to set this equal to 0. And looking at 4x squared plus 56x minus 93, I'm not sure if I want to attempt factoring it, and indeed I'm not sure if it's even factorable. And so this is an instance where I would like to use the quadratic formula. Using the quadratic formula, you can see that x equals the opposite of b, negative 56, plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c. There is some rather large numbers to work with, but in the end, we end up with a negative 56 plus or minus 68 divided by 8. And when finding the positive and the negative versions of both of these answers, I find that x equals a negative 15.5 or x equals 1.5. But again, in this real world situation, we know that the width cannot equal a negative answer. We cannot have a negative measurement of this pathway. So the pathway cannot equal a negative 15.5 meters. So the pathway, or x, equals 1.5 meters.